Hey, HR friends, welcome back. We're in the 5-2 emotional 6.5 day sequence. We're going to talk about day four. Day four is right here in this white rectangle. Now, if this is your first forecast with us, you be sure to check out this general overview before trying to watch day four forecast, as this will break down how to read these graphs and how to keep up with us. All right, let's get back to day four here. So, day four is actually going to be a little bit easier as far as what we've been going through here. Day one and two were challenging. Day three started to settle down. Now, at the beginning of day four, we've got this little kick up in third person, and we also have this little kick up in the second 12 hours in first person. But when we look at the overall electromagnetics and how they're going to affect the defensive design of our body, if the number gets to four or above, it's really going to agitate our design, which is going to make us very short. It's going to lead to us losing our temper, hearing things wrong, running away from our problems, or arguing. Now, the good news is this: we're below a four. And even when we come to the combined here, so as long as we're below that level of four, our defensive design isn't agitating or manipulating us quite as much. So day four is good in that regard. Now, does that mean you still have to make appropriate choices that aren't defensive in nature? Absolutely. All right. Let's move on down here then. So day four, not so shabby. We've got some easy going here. And if you've created stress in the first couple days, well, this would be a good time to try to eliminate it. All right, so let's look at the testing structure for day four. So when we look at the testing structure, we want to see if any of the quadrants of the body are going to really change as far as how they're being tested. Now, when we look at the upper left, day three looks just like day four. It's running right here at that four mark, okay? So this is kind of a heavy test load. Four is where that discerning mark is. When we look at the right upper quadrant, you can see that it's actually going to be up a little bit. So in day four, if you happen to feel your right upper quadrant just a little bit more, well, that's predicted. Lower left is going to kind of go up and down here. So we started up a little bit higher at the end of day three. It's going to drop off in the beginning of day four, and then it's going to pick back up again at the end of day four. And the right lower, same thing. We've got just a little kick up here in the first 12 hours, and then it kind of settles itself down. So obviously, if you want to do well with these frequencies that govern us, this is how simple this is to understand. You literally have to overcome your defensive design that we talked about up here and make sure you're getting along with every member of the team, not just the family you came from, but all the families that are interconnected throughout this experience that we all coexist in. Now, to commit to your family means that you commit to not fighting with them, getting along, communicating, coordinating, working out your differences and your stress, and most importantly, balancing your family around a single objective. So every single family in existence should have a routine, and that routine should be balanced in order to make sure that what they invest in is going to leave a better future existence for every future family. If you are currently alive and you are investing in strategies that aren't going to leave the world better for the future families, you are out of balance with how you spend your time. And the reason you're out of balance with how you spend your time is because you're not getting along with all the teammates. If you were getting along with all the teammates in every family of the world, you'd understand the importance of why we have to create a balanced and fair world. You see, right now, if you're born in one country versus another, there's a huge difference there. And the larger that difference is, so the more your routines create that difference between nations or different areas of the world, the more damage you're taking by these governing frequencies. So if you want to be healthy, you have to commit to the whole team, everybody that exists, every family in existence, and you have to balance your routine in a way that's going to help every future family that's going to be born in to this space-time reality. That's how you're perfect. Now, everybody is far from that. We've all been over investing in our own strategies and not been thinking about these larger perspectives. This is just a way for you to understand what you need to do if you want to feel better, if you don't want to have all this stress in your life, and most importantly, so you can complete this objective and get the heck out of this negative feedback loop. All right, so we're going to talk about this just for a second. This is how simple it is. To complete this objective, there it is right here. This is the Plutonic Objective Master Key. You have to master every combination of relationship from every perspective, and there's only 64 of them. If you do this, you graduate. You get out of this negative feedback loop, and you get to go to a heavenly positive feedback loop where good things happen to you instead of bad things happen to you. But in order for that to happen, you have to master these objectives. Okay. Now, we go through this every single day, and we're going to do it again today. So this is the 8-4. This is the macro mental. This sits for the entire year. So for 12 months, we're being tested on how balanced our choices are and what kind of a world are we going to leave because of our choices. The way that we treat mothers, how is that going to be reflected to the future mothers of the world? So our routines and how we get along with our teammates are very important. That's what these charts mean. And if you're not balancing in a way where it's going to help the world and make sure that every future mother is going to feel equal, fair, and balanced, well, then you're going to feel it in these quadrants. Now, if you're unbalanced in the world perspective, you're going to feel that in the left hip. So if in 2024 your left hip has been acting up, you can be pretty certain that it's your world perspective that's out of balance. Okay. Now, that's if it's been going on for the entire year. Same thing here. If you've been having right hip pain that's been going on for this entire year, the right hip is connected to this one. That's the third person. So on this side, we have the first person, and on this side, we have the third person perspective. So if you're having a hard time getting along with mature females in a way that all future mature females that come into this world, they're going to have a fair and equal balanced reality because of what you've contributed, more unbalanced it is, the more you're going to feel it in your right lower quadrant. Okay, that's how that works. All right, so the next one we're going to talk about is the 7.5 day frequency. This is the 6-7. So the 6-7 is testing to see how you do with the perspective of family, how well you're balancing that, and how well you're balancing the perspective of the nation. So the family has to do with the first person perspective. That's going to affect right hip, right leg, right lower quadrant. Okay. Now, the other one here, when we're looking at the time side of the third person, that's going to affect the left upper quadrant. So once this came into place, this is going to test right lower quadrant and left upper quadrant for 7.5 days. And then it's going to flip out. And then there's going to be a new test. And you'll know if you're doing well on these tests, whether you're feeling good in your body or not. That's how that works. All right. So the 5-1. How well are you balancing individual? How well are you balancing with the immature teammates? Simple. And the individual, so this is the E frequency or the emotional frequency. So this is capital E. It's going to test left quadrant if you're having problem with that individual perspective. And if you're having problem with the third person perspective, it's going to test the left lower quadrant. So this is going to tax the left side of the body. So if your left side of your body is getting a little sore or tight, or you're just noticing it in both the upper and lower extremity, then you understand the 5-2 is what's affecting you. Okay. Emotionally, you're not understanding the importance of these relationships and why they have to be balanced. Okay. Now let's move on to these two because these are the ones that are moving quite a bit. So if you wonder why your days change and one day seems to go well and then the next day seems to be much tougher for you and your pain in your body shifts around, these are creating the strongest and most frequent changes. Okay. So this is P1. So the blue has to do with physical. So P1 is going to test the upper right quadrant. What does that relate to? Relates to how we get along with the daughter. So if you're struggling to get along with the younger feminine teammates, and we're talking about every feminine teammate that exists. So if you have trouble communicating, coordinating, helping them through their stress, and encouraging them to balance their routine, well, then you're out of balance. That's how that works. And the more out of balance you are, the more you're going to feel this P1 in its upper right quadrant. Now, the other place this is going to go is it's going to go to the upper right quadrant on the third person side. So this one's actually amplifying, okay? So you're being checked on daughter, you're also being checked on world, but they're going to affect the same area. So in this case, you're really going to want to document what you feel and when you feel it, but all in all, you really need to work on the 2A. That's what that means. If you get right upper quadrant pain in the first 12 hours of day 4, you need to work on the 2A awareness. All right. Let's keep moving here. So the second P, that's going to be P2. That is between father and nation. So how are your choices affecting fathers of the future and the nations of the future? Period. Now, if you're having problems with the father perspective of this, that's P2. That's going to affect your left lower quadrant. If you're having problems with the national part, balancing and leaving this place better for all future nations, then you're going to feel that in the upper right quadrant. Now, you can see these P frequencies are really coming after the upper right quadrant. So very likely in this series. Now, when we come up here too, you can see that right upper quadrant actually kicked up. Now you understand why. These P frequencies are what's doing that. So if you notice right upper quadrant, tension, pain, any of that stuff, that's what's causing that. All right, so we got through these charts, and now you understand what you're supposed to do. If you want to get out of this animated hell, what you have to do is you have to balance all your choices. And what we've done here is we're helping you understand why you don't feel good. All right, so we took some extra time on these charts today because here's the good news. No alignments, and that powerful level 15 alignment is finally over. So a lot of people were feeling that one, especially in their right quadrant and left quadrant of the body, because that's what that was amplifying in the lower side. Okay, so no alignments, electromagnetics, pretty calm today. We don't have any worries in that regard. So that's it for that. That's great news. Now, if you want to, we've got the rest of the days here. So you can already see here's day 5. That's what's coming. Here's day 6. That's coming after that. And then we've got day 6.5. So you don't have to wonder. And you can see day 5 is really going to pile up here. This really changes. These charts change depending on where these frequencies sit. And these frequencies are just the governing frequencies that are testing to see how balanced you are. It's that easy to understand. All right, so this is the alignment guide. You can come down here and look through this. The same thing, they're synchronized together. So this is showing day 1, the same time this is showing day 1. And when this switches to day 2, it takes 10 seconds. This switches to day 2. There you go. That's how that works. All right, so last thing we're going to do is we're just going to show you that we've got the rest of the emotional sequences for year 2024. So you don't have to wonder until the end of 2024, we're posting all the electromagnetics and all of the testing sequences. You're going to know what parts of your body are going to be tested, what seasons are going to be tested in, when the electromagnetics are going to be agitating our defensive design. We are giving you everything you could possibly need to overcome the defensive design that's been tripping us up and making you sick, making you unwell, and making it difficult for us to get along individually and collectively. And the more people that overcome this pattern, not only does it serve you because you become healthier, but our communities become healthier because we're all doing better together. That's what Health Reconnected is up to. All right, we'll see you in the next 24 hours.